Hey, my friends, Nash Mackey here, Rapid Breakthrough and Personal Performance Coach. I always aim to create content that is super relevant and super practical for everyone who watches my videos. I have no intention just to create content for the sake of creating content. I want to create value. One way I thought that I could do that on a higher level is actually share a little more behind the scenes. So my incredible one-on-one clients have, when they work with me, they have access to me on messaging platforms between calls. So they can message me if they've got any challenges, any concerns, any questions that they would love support with. And I work with them to support them stay in momentum. And over the course of a few months, they gain incredible life-changing momentum. I've had one of my clients message me recently, and it just sparked an idea. I'm spending a lot of time connecting with my clients through these messages, responding to their questions, guiding them, supporting them. And I thought that this might be valuable for more people. So I'm going to experiment. Essentially, you're going to hear me responding live to my client's message. I'm going to make sure that I bleep their name out for privacy's sake. But I want to know from you if this is valuable. So today we're going to be talking about staying inspired. So my client has sent in a message around not really being able to think about what felt inspiring the following day. So this is part of the reason why the client is working with me. This is early days in the coaching process, and this is something they're absolutely got to get on the other side of. But there's a few important things that I'm going to put in their space, some ideas that I'm going to offer them that will support them stay inspired. So I spoke to this client about the word inspired actually meaning being in spirit. I spoke to this client already about how inspiration is different from the motivation. So a lot of people are focusing on wanting to feel motivated to get out there and live life to the fullest. They're focusing on having the energy to get out there and live life to the fullest. Well, if you actually learn how to tap into inspiration, inspiration being, again, the deepest part of yourself that wants to express something. That's the way I like to think about it. If you're focusing on that more, it's an unlimited energy source. It's something that you can continue to draw on. And when you learn to tap into this energy source, the energy of inspiration, it is truly unlimited. And it can continue to fuel you in ways that motivation or, even seeking energy pump ups, it's radically different. So inspiration is the most pure form of energy, in my opinion. And there's some specific things we need to do, we get to do more importantly, to make sure that we are living with greater levels of inspiration. So here's the answer I'm going to offer to this client. I'm making it relevant to them. There's certain things I won't say to them. I want to make sure that I'm giving them information that's going to support them. Sometimes too much information can actually be to someone's detriment. So creating this on the fly, bear with me as I pull my phone out now and record this message. Let's give this a go. Hello, amazing soul. Thank you for your message. I appreciate you sharing this with me because now I can support you with it. So first things first, a lot of this, what I'm about to say, is going to piggyback off the call we previously had. So the first thing I want you to observe is just the true experience. Right now, you don't feel inspired. And I want you just to meet yourself in that. Wow, I don't feel very inspired right now. Huh, isn't that interesting? That's one of my favorite phrases to put at the end of an observation like this. I don't feel inspired. Isn't that so interesting? I'm here, I'm alive on planet Earth that's full of opportunities, but I don't feel inspired. And there's more to that, but I just want you to meet yourself where you're at. That's really important, first of all, because when you accept what is present for you right now, you can then really have a solid foundation to build off. It's a bit like when I was a builder, if I was renovating an old house and I didn't check out the foundation I was building on, I just tried to start building a new structure, that could be very risky because I hadn't checked the foundation. So we check the foundation, which is, what am I currently building on? What I'm currently building on is, I don't feel inspired. That's the true experience I have right now. That's the current foundation you're on. And when you look at the foundation, you can then say, all right, there's something I definitely get to shift here. There's something I get to do to strengthen this experience right now. So what the conversation I'm now going to have with you is going to support you strengthen that foundation so you can build stronger, as opposed to just trying to build a new house, if that makes sense. So Right now, I don't feel inspired. Isn't that interesting? Just sit with that. That's the first point. Now, once you've met yourself in that, what I encourage you to do is actually think to yourself, if I'm not in a state of inspiration, because it's important to give ourselves a bit of leeway here. Sometimes we don't like to force ourselves to go and do something where it's like, get inspired right now. It doesn't work like that. But if we give ourselves a bit of an ultimatum here, a bit of a choice where we say, all right, I don't have to feel inspired. I don't have to feel inspired in life. But if I don't feel inspired, then what's the energy that I open myself up to? Because if I'm not in inspiration, then what am I in? Well, more than likely, you're probably going to be in whatever emotions you've been running up until this point. So when you have that little bit of understanding, you're like, okay, so maybe it's wise that I choose to be inspired. And that's my next point. It is a choice. We are choosing in every single moment how we want to feel. It might be a subconscious choice, but it's still a choice. We are choosing how to react to life. So when you realize that this is a game of choices, as I said earlier, it was a game of relationships. You get to choose the kind of relationship you have to life. You realize that inspiration is a choice. And if you're not choosing inspiration, then what are you choosing? If you're not in a state of inspiration, which comes from gratitude, by the way, then what are you opening yourself up to? If you're not in the state of inspiration and gratitude, which again is a choice, even when you don't feel like it, you can choose to be in that. Why? Because it's a privilege to be alive. It's a privilege to have whatever is present for you right now. If you don't choose that, then you're a bit like a boat without an anchor. If you are feeling uninspired, it's because you're telling yourself an uninspired story. You're actually saying, these are the things that are present in my life and I just don't feel inspired by them, or I can't think of anything to be inspired by. When we're doing one of those two things, we're actually telling ourselves a story. We're actually focusing on how things are uninspiring or how there are limited things to do. You might just not feel inspired by what you've got to do. So what I would encourage you to do is on the days where you can't necessarily think of anything inspiring that you would love to do, write down what responsibilities you have. Write down what is important that you do. Again, it might be your physical health. It might be your mindset. It might be your spiritual connection. Write down all those things that are important for you to do. Like just write down those things, because those things are the things that move you forward. Those things cause you to be a better version of yourself. And then focus on the story you're telling yourself about your to-do list if you want, because you're telling yourself a story that might be causing you to feel uninspired. So if you've just got responsibilities, are you telling yourself a story that's causing you to feel inspired? Well, you'll know that by how you feel. And the story is completely within your control. So that's really important to understand. Are you filling your day with the things that will move you forward? Number one. Are you aware of your responsibilities? Have you defined them? Because they're important as well. And then what's the story you're telling yourself about all of those things? And is that story leading to inspiration? And the way the story will lead to inspiration is if you can see that the things you have written on your list are actually moving you forward toward a greater outcome. Okay, hopefully this is landing. Let me know. So the next thing I want to say is, to fuel inspiration, it's important to think about how we will feel about today, tomorrow when we wake up. So cast your mind forward, move beyond where you are, connect to the fact that you will look back on today, tomorrow, and how do you want to feel about today? So all of these little things, if you start doing these holding these frames of mind, also understanding that whatever we practice, we get better at, these are going to hopefully support you get in a greater state of inspiration. Let me know if you've got any questions about this. Happy to support further. Oh, and the last thing I'll say, since I'm on a bit of a flow here, is we feel inspired when we can see something is taking us to a greater destination. So this is where it's important to be connected to the bigger vision of things. Like, you're also using your executive center when you are saying, all right, if I cast my mind forward, even though I might not feel overly inspired by doing this thing today, if I stack up doing this thing over the series of days and then weeks, am I inspired by where that could lead me? So essentially what you're doing is you're almost like building up this credit that ultimately leads you to experience this incredible inspiration, this incredible fulfillment in your life. Let me know if that makes sense. Okay, so that was fairly in depth. And again, I could go to that level because I've had some pretty deep conversations with this amazing client. I hope that some of these ideas that I just shared have given you something to think about when it comes to living with more inspiration. So first of all, embracing where you currently are. If you don't feel inspired, acknowledge it. Hey, I don't feel overly inspired. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that fascinating that my system is playing that pattern out? Isn't it interesting that I've trained myself to do this? Then acknowledge if I choose to stay in this though, if I choose to stay in this state of not being inspired, then what am I in if I'm not in inspiration? What's the emotional state I'm in? Because you're in something, and do you like being in that state? So then you have that level of awareness around you are choosing to be in a state that is other than inspiration. It's a choice. You're choosing it. So why not choose something better? And the way to choose something better is by changing the story you have around it. Because if you don't feel inspired by your to-do list or your get-to-do list, as I like to call it, it's because there's a story. There's something you're running, a narrative that you're telling yourself about the to-do list. So imagine if you had your to-do list, or again, your get-to-do list, and you saw that as your greatest gift. You saw that as an opportunity. You saw that as a freaking privilege, no matter what was on it. That frame of mind is very different. That creates a different sort of energy, a different vibration, as some people would say. And it gives you a different drive to get out there and absolutely live life to get that list done. So the next point was, we feel inspired when we can see that whatever the actions we do have on our list are taking us somewhere. Even though we might not necessarily fully be excited about where we currently are, we can see that taking those actions, even though they might seem mundane, will stack up and ultimately lead us somewhere more inspiring. We feel inspired. Remembering as well that you will look back on today and you were going to feel a certain way about today, and that the way you act today is literally causing you to set your future self up for a type of experience of life. It's worth considering what that experience is. What are you setting your future self up for? Success or more hardship? And then last of all, remembering that we get better at what we practice. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As you can see, I create content from the heart. I want to create content that's genuinely valuable, that you get to help me co-create by being a part of the experience, by engaging below. So if you would like to continue to be part of this community, definitely subscribe. Share this out with someone you might want to bless with a little more inspiration in your life. Apart from that, live an inspired life, my friends. I'll see you in the next video.